Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
This one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Game day here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Buchanan. I'm Nuño. What's up, buddy?
Just trying to get through the day, trying to get the day started. Having computer problems, but, you know, we're going to overcome those eventually.
And this is not because you don't know how to use a computer. This is something actually wrong with the Wi-Fi here.
With something. Yeah, we don't.
With your computer only.
My computer only.
Everybody else's is working. In fact, better than my computer today has never worked better.
And mine was working fine yesterday.
Anyway, big time game tonight.
Mm-hmm.
We saw some games last night.
We did.
Any game in particular, like, kind of catch your eyes?
I watched the Texas Longhorn get X'd out of the tournament.
Oh, that's right. Xavier, who we know a little bit about. Well, different Xavier program. Sean Miller, now the coach. He's been there for a couple seasons, but we saw them in the NIT finals. Texas saw them in the play-in game, and it didn't work out well for Texas, even though they were up by as much as, 13 with 10 minutes left?
I don't know if it was 10 minutes left, but I know they had a 13-point lead, and imagine a team blowing a lead that big. You know.
We've seen it. We've seen it.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for A&M, Texas wouldn't have been in the tournament in the first place.
Hey, when we have Luke on the program in about, 30 minutes or so, I want to talk with him about body language yesterday from both Yale and from Texas A&M. But I do want to touch on it for a moment, because yesterday, I'm going to read into it as that was a very business-like approach by the Aggie basketball team.
That's kind of the way I interpret it. There was I wrote about it. There was a tension, an edginess to that team. Usually guys like Henry Coleman and Wade Taylor are very gregarious and social and, I
didn't get that vibe yesterday.
Almost lighthearted, right?
Yeah.
And they struck me as a team that was angry about something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe it was because, that they see, just like we do, all the national talking heads and things like that are projecting an upset for Yale, and then even some of the social media from back home.
Yeah.
When some people are starting to doubt them.
Yeah, we got some locker room sound yesterday that I highly recommend you check out on TexAgs.com, because the players, the vibe I got was, we're not just happy to be here anymore, right? At the NIT, they were upset they didn't make the NCAA tournament, but they enjoyed that journey. There was once they accepted that was their fate, we're all upset for a little bit. All right, let's go win this darn thing, right?
On a mission.
Okay. Then the next year, when they lost to Penn State, it wasn't that they were just happy to be there. They were they were enjoying that moment. Like, hey, we are here. Our program's on the right direction. Last year, I think it was kind of a combination of focus and fun, like that opening practice that we always go to. And yesterday was more like, we got work to do. I'm not here for the BS.
Well, I would say a good part of that is what I spoke about earlier, is that they're hearing about the doubters, but also, as we all know, there's 8 guys that are going to be in their last season here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a now or never situation. So you got to Wade Taylor, and whenever they lose, his career's done.
Yeah.
Henry Coleman, Anderson Garcia, Zurich, Phelps go down the list. So no doubt that they understand that and they're focused and wanting to make a statement and hopefully a good long run through this tournament.
All right, OB, I want to do, it's similar to three things that I want to see, but it's 3v3, all right? I want three things that A&M must do and three things that A&M can't do. I got a list. I would like to hear your list.
Okay, what they must do, they must play good defense on the perimeter.
Yep.
Really good defense everywhere, but specifically on the perimeter. They have got to offensive rebound because when they're offensive rebounding and getting extra shots, that's a big key to their success. And then, get to the free throw line and make them.
I like it. What can't they not do?
Well, don't turn the ball over. Don't give, there'll be some. So limit to a minimum the second chances that Yale gets in, and don't give them wide open looks.
Yep. I like the way you operate. I like the way you think. Mine are somewhat similar, but I'm going to give a little different spin. Get to the line and hit at a good rate.
Yes.
Okay. What is a good rate? 72 and above.
Sure, I'd take 70%, but
right. Yeah. Hit a good rate. Dominate the paint. That's your house. All right. That's Pharrell Payne's house.
Pharrell Paint.
Yeah. That's what I want. They got to dominate, and they must force turnovers. And here's a little stat that I was looking at yesterday. So Yale is known to not turn the ball over a bunch. Okay. But they do average 10 a game. In their losses, 5 of their losses, they had more than 10. In fact, 16 turnovers twice and 14 once in their losses. If you get them in the teens, they will lose.
Okay. I'm all for it. You know, put pressure them, but if you're playing good, strong defense, that's how you force those.
That's how you exactly right.
Yale probably, and maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but I don't think so. Just because they're brainiacs, I don't think they're likely to make a whole lot of unforced turnovers.
Sure. Yeah. I agree.
But when you're a more athletic team and you're playing well and providing pressure, then I think that's the recipe for turnovers.
3 things that they can't do.
What can they not do?
They cannot take rush threes or feel compelled to keep up with the game by shooting threes.
Okay. Sometimes they get in trouble with that.
Right? Like they feel like the lead is insurmountable. I will still maintain in college basketball, a 14, even 16-point lead is not insurmountable.
Yeah, it's the Longhorns.
Yeah, exactly. I asked the Longhorns last night. How about this one? Don't fall behind early.
I would like to see A&M start fast, and I would love, if I can add another one, I would love for A&M just to avoid the prolonged scoring slump, a drought. How about no more than like 3 minutes?
Yeah.
I would really not even like to have that, but no more than a 3-minute drought. They did that. I think it was against LSU. They didn't have any long scoring droughts.
Yeah. I'm going to give you one more.
Maybe against Auburn too.
How about this? This one I think you're going to agree with. Don't give them any breathing room. You got a chance to step on the jugular, you step on him, right? You break that chicken's neck.
Break it.
Just show me how you do it.
To break the neck?
Yeah.
Well, you take a chicken, and this is what my grandmother used to do when she was going to, fry chicken. She'd grab it and just kind of shake it in a circle, and eventually the chicken, the body part just comes loose from the head. From the neck. It's called wringing its neck.
Wringing the neck.
Wringing the neck of the chicken. Now, old folks, even older than me, would understand because they probably experienced that, seeing, if they didn't do it themselves, their mothers or their dads or grandparents grab the chicken before Sunday dinner, get prepared, wring that neck, pluck that sucker, and then fry them up.
Welcome to the Farmers Market here on TexAgs Live.
You asked.
I did ask. I'm going to ask Buzz Williams a question right now.
In Cuba.
They wring the neck?
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Well, wring the neck. I don't know why I did that. Anyway, let's ask Buzz Williams. Tell us about Yale. What do they do well from your perspective, Buzz?
Yeah, I think they're good at a lot of things. I think they're one of 6 teams in the country that have only lost 1 game in 2025. So regardless of league, to have that success, there's a lot of good things that they do, not just one They are really good on the glass on both ends of the floor. I think they're 22nd in the country in defensive rebounding. Very physical. Their defensive style of play creates opportunities for them to rebound at a very high rate. Offensively, I think that their plan is fairly succinct. Number 2 is 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. He was the MVP of the Ivy League. Is a power 4 guard. Plays with a high motor. 42 is the point guard when 2 doesn't have it. Both of those guys, 2 and 42, play with a really high usage rate. 42 scores differently, obviously, than 2. And then 4 is as good a shot maker as there is in the country. As you know, their team is top 10 in the country in 3-point field goal percentage, not because they shoot a lot of them, but they make a very high percentage.
That they do. They can shoot the 3, and we're going to talk about that and the swagger that they're bringing here to Denver. We'll talk about that on the other side. Actually, on the other side, I want to talk some football. But let's give the people a little bit of the information, shall we?
Let's do.
Right now, we're typically hanging out in an area that we call the Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
Yes, we are typically. We're not today.
But it's cool.
It's kind of wherever we are. It's probably a pretty much of a cool zone.
Well, I was going to tell you, it is so cool that says 80 degrees right there. But right now,
no, it's not 80.
It's not 80 degrees. No. It's like 40.
Well, no, it's not that either.
What do you think it is?
It's probably somewhere in
63.
70.
No.
71.
My hands are. I'm not going to touch you, right? But
thank you. But I'm in a t-shirt and I'm feeling fine.
I'm feeling frozen.
But you know,
what do they do at Holistic Planning?
Well, they do a lot of things. For instance, you need some help, some advice on your investments.
I do.
Holistic Planning's there for you. If you got tax time coming up.
I do. I don't know how to do that part.
You need some help with your taxes so you can get as much money back as possible or pay as little as possible.
Yep, that too.
They'll help you with that.
Okay.
And, if you're getting older like me or if you're thinking about the time it's coming when you're going to be old like me, you need to work on planning your estate, and they'll help you on estate planning.
But if you put that all together, put it in a ball and shoot a basket, they can also help you in what?
Well, they can help you invest in pro sports if you're so inclined.
And go to investinprosports.com. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can call us. We'll talk to you. You can text us. We'll answer that text. 979-693-1150. If you call us on that number, we'll pick it up on the Buppy's Catering hotline. Let's go around the room and say hi to the people. Behind the glass is Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
How are you?
I'm great. Excited. Lots of Aggie sports to take in today. The more and more we talk about this basketball game, I was kind of a little iffy on the matchup, but the more we've broken it down, the more I feel like, A&M's physicality is going to really allow them to get a good advantage. I feel like it's going to be a close game because when does, Aggie basketball not play close games? But, it should be fun. We should see them play on and keep y'all there in Denver longer.
Let's hope. I do know that that A&M can't just take Yale for granted because they're an Ivy League.
And I don't think they will.
And I don't think they will. I think they made that very clear yesterday.
Yeah. They feel, and I think they're at their best when they feel this way. They feel they have something to prove.
They do have something to prove.
They do have to, but they feel that way too.
Yeah, right. They understand the task that's at hand.
Yep.
I think maybe, who knows, but I think maybe 2 years ago against Penn State, they went in there expecting, hey, okay, we're going to go out here and we're going to do what we want to do and we're going to win. And they got hit in the mouth. And I think they learned from that and they showed it last year, just blowing out Nebraska and then playing a classic game against UH. And, I'm sure they still remember both and the approach you have to have.
All right, let's do this. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Caitlin Torn is there. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. Caitlin, good morning.
Good morning. How are y'all?
Pretty good.
Good.
Nice and cool in
the cool zone.
Where it says 80 degrees.
It's quiet in here today. Caitlin? Not much. We've got lots of Aggie sports coming up. Baseball hits the road for its first true road game of the series. They're traveling to number 22 Vanderbilt starting tonight at 6 p.m. at Hawkins Field. Today marks the 27th meeting all-time between the Aggies and the Commodores, where the Aggies hold a 16-10 advantage in the series after a sweep last season at Olson.
Good stuff there. I saw a note that Vanderbilt, I'm trying to see if I can find it here, has the most, quad one wins, second most in college baseball. They have 5 quad one RPI wins, second most in college baseball.
Okay. I wonder who they played. I have to admit, I don't even know.
I don't either.
But that's usually that's a traditionally really strong baseball program, as you and everybody else knows. They've won some national championships under Tim Corbin. They have a great environment there for baseball. So A&M is going to go and get a severe test because not just playing a good team, but they're going to have to do it on the road in a great environment.
Kayla, what else do you have for us?
We got a text in from iDoc Mike, or he's actually watching TexAgs in his car, and he says, "Don't TexAgs and drive. Do as I say, not as I do. Beat the hell out of Yale."
Hi, Doc. Are you on your way to the office or are you on your way to Denver? Because I know I saw some folks coming in. I hope we see a bunch of Aggies. That was another thing I noticed yesterday. The practice session for the teams that I got to see, I walked by at least 3 of the sessions. Not as many people as I expected.
You know, everything's so expensive these days. Maybe you can't afford to come in until the last minute, right?
Hopefully we have a great crowd here. This I thought was a pretty good crowd.
Yeah, it was, as I recall.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe you had more programs that were very basketball-centric in Memphis than you do here.
Obi, on the other side, I want to talk a little spring football because something caught my attention yesterday from the presser, the spring football opening day presser. They start their practices on Friday, so we'll talk about that at 8:35-ish. We will talk with Luke Evangelist, break down some body language. He's going to be like not a forensic scientist, a body language expert. They have those on YouTube where they can tell when you're nervous, when you're excited, he's going to play that role when in a little bit.
Okay, so he's like Olivia Newton-John, physical, saying, let me hear your body talk.
Yes.
Okay.
And if your body could speak.
Oh, sometimes it does.
If it could speak about what would a body language expert say if you were sitting there kind of in a bad mood like this, and then somebody came up to you and goes, "I brought you some 1775.
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about, my body speaking. When you think about 1775, my stomach maybe start growling, because it's wanting to, like a tiger, because it's wanting to pounce on all that
meat.
Great meat, all that brisket and sausage and pork ribs and turkey and pulled pork.
You didn't say succulent. I'm a little disappointed.
Well, it's all succulent.
Yeah.
And just pounce on it.
Just pounce on a succulent
with some
beef.
Yeah, with some queso mac and cheese on the side.
That's so good, yeah.
Yeah.
You ever dip the bread back into the cheese after?
I haven't, but what I have done, I probably shouldn't admit this, I have picked up the bowl and used my fingers to scrape the sides of the bowl and get the remnants, what cheese is left, and then eat it right off my fingers because, from East Texas, what can I tell you?
Open Thursday through Saturday. They're open today, by the way. 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. 8203 Raymond Stosser Parkway in College Station, 979-492-6241, or visit 1775txbbq.com.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggie and Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Liucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggie Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggie Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Liucci sent you by.
Look, I don't want to get an angry mob mad at me, but I'm gonna be mean to people.
Okay.
All right. Not mean. I'm just gonna give a reality check. Is that okay?
Let's hear the reality.
Let's get freaking excited about this basketball team. I don't feel like we're in a room without anybody, so who knows? Yeah. Maybe the vibes are great outside this room, but I don't feel the excitement level that I have. This team has one of the highest seeds they've ever had. They have I don't want to say a favorable draw, but a draw that they are the highest seeded team at a host site that I think when they play their ball, and I know it's a when thing, but for the most part, they've played their ball. I don't feel the excited fan, and I get why, because other sports have kind of. We should not hold that against Wade Taylor, Henry Coleman, Anderson Garcia, Buzz Williams. Let this team story be written.
Yeah, but here's the deal. Yeah, you don't hold basketball team accountable for what's happened in football and baseball, but
it's a game day. It's a game day.
They're 2-5 in their last 7 games.
Okay,
something like that.
But it's game day, brother.
And so, yeah, I'm with you. But you know what it is. I get it. I'm not saying it's right, but I understand where the apprehension comes from.
So can I tell you something?
Yeah, tell me.
I'm probably going to tell you anyway, but thank you for the approval. I actually, at times, are more like that, like where I'm like, who knows? Like I get that, but on game day, like you take the gloves off. Let's go. Let's. It's time to fight. So I'm going to believe in this team. I'm going to enjoy the moment because and I'm not, later on with Billy, I'm going to talk about this, but if we had drawn up this scenario a couple months ago, we'd all have signed up for it. Super excited about it.
Yes, I agree with that. And I believe in the team. I truly believe they're winning tonight and on Saturday. I believe that. I think that they're.
And if they do, it's going to feel, I think, if they win both of those games, the excitement that I'm talking about, even if they win tonight, do you think we get that excitement level?
Well, I think there'll be much more of excitement because I think there's this concern to lose in the first round when you're the higher seed.
Yeah, I get that.
And I think everybody knows that not just Yale, but the Ivy League representatives so often, even if they do lose so often, it's a nip and tuck game. And I just believe if there is an apprehension among Aggies, it's because they saw the team struggle at the end of the year.
Yep, I get it.
Weren't able to finish it off against Texas. And you're saying, well, are they playing good basketball? I think they actually played pretty well against Texas. Texas played better. And before that game, they had played 2 really good games. So I'm not that concerned from that end. But like I said, I understand. I've said it before. No athletic program in the country disappoints its fans more than Texas A&M. When you factor in how loyal and how invested financially and emotionally the fans are at Texas A&M.
And the weird thing, OB, is I get it. I do get it, but I'm excited about tonight. And I want, like, have you ever seen a movie that was really good and you want Irma to watch it with you and you're hoping for her to have the same experience?
Yeah.
You're so, what is it funny? It's okay. What is it? No, it's great. It's Dumb and Dumber. It's fantastic. I can't believe you've never watched it in 30 years. Yeah, I know. So I also know that people brace themselves for the pain, right? Yeah, they're going to let me down at some point. So I'd rather just kind of check out right now.
Yeah, I think that's, if there is a lack of enthusiasm, I think it's the root of that. If it isn't, if you're right, and if that is indeed the case, the root of it is how many times have we been here before only to
be let down. Yeah. Let's, for a few minutes, turn our attention to football, shall we?
Oh, yeah. There's never a bad time talking about football.
Marcel Reed had some, I don't want to say interesting comments, some comments that caught my attention.
Okay.
Some talking point comments, okay?
What did Marcel have to say?
Well, Marcel talks about improving his passing, and I want you to hear what he has to say, and then I'll give you some little context afterwards. Here's Marcel on what he needs to improve on this year.
Definitely passing. I mean, I've set a goal for myself to, be above probably 70% passing, just my completion percentage, and that's really good in college football. So if I can, get up to around there or sit around there, maybe a little bit under, I feel like that'll be great for the offense. And it takes me getting in the film room and, understanding this offense. And I think now, like I said, being a year into it, it's definitely better for me to go back and watch film on teams we've played and what they're going to do and how we should attack them. And kind of just knowing this offense, I'll be able to see kind of the game plans we had last year for each team and, being able to evaluate before I get into it.
70% passing would be phenomenal. Last year, I thought he was pretty good. He was 61%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Said it before, I expect him to be better in all areas. I think you would expect any quarterback to be better in his second year as starter, especially when he wasn't supposed to be the starter in the first year. So I'm very optimistic about Marcel. I think he's a smart kid that's responsible and he wants to do what he has to do to get better as a passer. And of course, what I really like is his running ability and his ability to make plays off schedule. So I've had some discussions with other people that aren't quite as high on Marcel. Yeah. They're taking more of I got to see it, and I understand that. But I personally am very, very enthusiastic about what I think I'm going to see from the quarterback position.
I don't think I'm going out on a limb here, but I think Marcel Reed last year was better than we could have envisioned when Connor wasn't the Connor we expected. If you would have told us before the season started, I think Marcel's numbers, right? Hey, he's going to be thrust into the starting lineup because of Connor not playing his A game this year. And you would have given us Marcel's stats as a redshirt freshman. I think we would have been like, that's pretty cool, darn good season.
Yeah, I would just ask anybody for that Florida game who thought that, Marcel in his very first start was going to go out and play well. And
right.
And then he did. He played well, and a big part of that was his running ability. And not just running downfield. I still think one of the most spectacular plays of last year was Marcel against Florida when he leaves the pocket, draws the defense to him, throws over the top to Cyrus Allen for a 50, 60-yard touchdown. And that's what the ability he provides. And I expect to see more plays like that.
I do too.
In 2025.
All right. If there's one thing physically that maybe you are not even concerned, just you're paying attention to, is there anything physically with Marcel?
Oh, he needs to be bigger.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he needs.
Did you read the rundown?
I did not, but I know he needs to get bigger.
Well, he talked about bulking up. Let's listen to Marcel.
Well, I saw him in
he should go to 1775. So
yeah.
He should. Anyway.
A lot of queso mac and cheese.
Here's Marcel on bulking up.
I've touched 185, so I'm trying to get up to about 190, 195 before the fall starts. I've gained about 7 pounds since kind of last year. I sat around probably 176, 177 during the season last year. So, we're trying to get that up so I can probably sit around 190 and high 180s this season and be able to take a couple licks throughout games.
190-pound version of Marcel Reed that keeps that speed.
Yeah,
could be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, if he can be as elusive as he was. I don't care if you're 177 pounds. If you're faking that Florida linebacker out of his jock, if they can't hit you, they can't hurt you, right?
That's exactly right.
But yeah, he needs to get bigger. He needs to add a little bit of muscle. And again, he's a very responsible kid, and he's trying to do all the things he needs to do to be the best quarterback he can be.
All right, let's talk a little basketball on the other side. Okay. All right, we got Luke Evangelist.
Back to basketball with Luke
Body
Evangelist.
language scientist, if you will. No, nothing.
Body language scientist. I might think a lot of things about Luke, and language might come to mind, but scientist and body never.
No, that's a good point. We'll talk to him on the other side. We're going to read into Yale's body language and also what they said. We're going to read into A&M's, all right? And what they said. Right now, you're really good at what you do, and the Rollo Insurance Group is great at what they do. So why don't you guys match that? My family and many others in the Brazos Valley know what they've been doing. Thousands and thousands of Aggies in this community and beyond have taken advantage of Rollo Insurance because they want to take great care of you, providing you all the questions and answers you might have for whatever insurance situation you have. They have 60 offices in Texas, but as you've known for a long time, their headquarters is right here or right there in College Station. You can call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. That phone number again is 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That website again, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. David Nuño, Olin Buchanan, and Luke Evangelist. Luke, good morning, sir.
Good morning, y'all.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
How are you enjoying this trip?
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah? There's been no partying from Luke today or this week.
Well, there hasn't exactly been a chance to party. The only one that's partying is that light over there going in and out.
Yeah.
We think we're at a club.
Well, it's been a while since I've been there, but I think you've been there recently. Luke, we were in different rooms when the press conference was going on, the locker room, and we came back and we met with some other media members, and we felt like, I don't know if different is the right word, but there was an intensity to A&M that this particular team, I don't remember seeing very often.
Yeah, they were focused, and I don't know what the byproduct of that is, but I think it's fair to assume that they've been reading what other people have been saying about them, whether that be people in their own fan base, which isn't exactly the most positive environment at the moment.
Yep.
But I think it was more so what the media is saying. Anytime Yale was brought up, Henry Coleman was very assertive in the fact that they know what it's like to be the underdog. He mentioned people told Wade he was too short to play college basketball. Everyone on that team has been doubted at some point, and they know what it's like on the flip side to be that underdog. So they are trying to attack this game as if they are the underdog, because quite honestly, that's what the experts are picking.
Yeah.
Everybody is saying that Yale is the trendy upset pick given the Ivy League history, given Yale's history, and given how these styles clash. And so I think that's how I want A&M to attack this matchup of, okay, everyone's disrespecting us. Let's play with the chip on our shoulder. I don't think the way that I saw them reacting yesterday, I don't think that could hurt their preparation.
Right.
I think we saw a lot of that last year.
We got light problems everywhere
in Memphis, right? Or we were in a hotel with, and I know fans are different, but we were in a hotel with a ton of Nebraska fans.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you not one there thought Nebraska was going to lose.
Yeah.
You know, they were all just overlooking. Okay. And A&M came out and just, swept them off the court. I don't know that A&M is going to come out and abuse Yale the way they abused Nebraska, but I kind of agree with the notion that the Aggies have been hearing, on Sirius Radio or ESPN or CBS, whatever, and they're talking about bracket busters and upsets. And they're saying, well, Yale, I'll pick Yale as that 14-4, that 4-13 matchup, and they watch those shows just like we do.
I forget which player it was. It might have been Solo, but one of the players told me, he's like, coaches urged us to not look at social media and what people are saying, right? And it was in one of the interviews. And then Manny, very eloquently said, we try to avoid it, but we live in a generation that that's out there. We're going to see it. And at the end of the day, when the ball goes up, it's you can't think about that kind of stuff. I mentioned to Henry yesterday, I think you guys will agree. Oftentimes, it's not what the other team does, it's what A&M does that either makes it a victory or a loss.
I think A&M in their losses quite often, they
self-inflicted wounds.
Self-inflicted wounds. It's poor shot selection. It's maybe somebody trying to go one-on-one against somebody shouldn't be going and not looking to make an extra pass, or it's picking up a technical foul that's needless, or
free throws,
missing free throws like crazy. It's usually A&M usually when they lose, typically it's not because another team did something to them. Now, like you could say Tennessee was an example because they made 6 of 33s, but that's not quite the same, because with A&M, they might shoot 33s and make 15 of them. They might shoot 30 and make 6. You just never know what's going to happen there. But in the Alabama game, when they missed 20 free throws, absolutely, that was an issue. That was absolutely an issue against Texas.
It's so funny. You can point at all these games and give you the narrative of why, right? And if they just correct part of it, not even all of it, right? Like if you hit 8 of 30 against Bama, what does that game look like?
Well, A&M wins.
Yeah.
And that's still a bad percentage.
Like Coach said, said as much.
That's why I think I'm so confident that when A&M is playing their game and they're playing smart and they're not needlessly turning it over, they're focused at the free throw line and hitting over 70%. They are truly one of the more unique teams to have to game plan for, and they can beat anyone on any given night. And people think that Auburn game is the outlier. I think that Auburn game, when they play up to their potential, is the norm. I've just seen it too many times with Texas Tech, Purdue, and Creighton, and Auburn, and Missouri, for me to not think that this team can't just put it together again in March.
Okay. Agree with everything, but I got to always do the counter, right? Johnny counters. The counter to that is, well, how have they played recently?
Exactly. And that's why I think people are nervous about this game, and as they should be, because losing 5 of your last 7 does not look good when you're playing a team that's lost once since we hit 2025.
So let's talk about that. They've lost, they've played, but who is the real A&M team? Have teams figured them out, or are they just playing poorly?
That's another thing is, maybe
I got questions.
Maybe that Auburn game is a symptom of Buzz Williams matching up really well with Bruce Pearl teams and being 6-2 against Bruce Pearl, which is why you think it's so important to get to that second weekend, because you have to like A&M's chances if they see Auburn again. And maybe we're looking too far ahead like we did last year. And hey, this is a favorable Sweet 16 draw, potentially getting Duke in Dallas. Now we're talking about potentially getting Auburn in Atlanta. But A&M's got to handle their business, and they got to make their free throws. They got to limit Yale. And I think if they can make it out of this region, I like how it sets up for them further down the tournament to really make a run. And like you said, you got to hope that with this being the last dance for 8 guys, for 8 of your 10 contributors, there's another level of focus and determination to really put it all together this year.
Before we hit a break, I do want to talk about Yale, because I had James Jones on the show a couple days ago. He was awesome. Yesterday on the podium, I thought he was even better. There is a confidence that he exudes that is not cocky, right? And he's not happy to be there. He thinks that he has built a program that can match up and win. I forgot how it was a question about the Ivy League matching up with the SEC. And, he's like, he didn't say it like this, but we've done this. This is what we do.
Yeah, and they should feel confident, because that Auburn team that they beat was a great team, just like A&M is a great team this year, but different components for different matchups. Look, as long as the comparable thing to what happened for Auburn last year would be like if Solomon Washington was ejected in the first 3 minutes. That would be detrimental to A&M, just as Auburn losing Chad Baker-Mazara was. And Yale doesn't have Danny Wolf. They still have weapons, and they have guys who have been here before and have made shots in NBA gyms and know what it's like to be the underdog. But A&M's got the athleticism and the SEC experience that should overwhelm them. But Yale is saying, okay, you've got all that experience. Well, we've beaten SEC teams before. We've made runs before in the tournament. So this is not new to them. They've got their core players that have been here 3 of the last 4 years, and they're ready to meet the moment. I felt like Yale was exactly what you said. They're not cocky, but they've got this quiet confidence about them that they don't need to feed into the media hype of them picking Yale as a common upset. They just know that they can handle their business and play at this level.
Yeah, all those things are true. I think that stands out to me from a different standpoint with Yale is teams score on them and score a lot. And that's something where, we don't talk about very much. They talk about, Yale can shoot the 3 and they're really good and they can do this and that's all true. But their opponents typically score a lot of points against them. So if you go out and play a reasonable facsimile of what Texas A&M defense typically is, and then just don't completely crash on offense, it's another reason to feel really good about A&M's chances of winning tonight.
All right, let's do this. Let's hit a break. We'll come back. We'll hear for some text messages. We'll get some final thoughts from Luke here on the Go Hour and OB. Right now, Brazos Running Company, located at Century Square, locally Aggie-owned and operated specialty running store. They have an outstanding selection of all the shoes that you want. On, Brooks, Hoka, you name it. They've got them all there. If you're a runner, a walker, interested in fitness at all, the right shoe makes all the difference in the world. And if you go to the Brazos Running Company, they're going to put you, if you want, they're going to help you find the right shoe, not just by looking at your shoe size and figuring it out. They're going to actually put you on a treadmill and see how you run, how you walk, and finding your gait and make sure that you're in the right shoe for you. They also have Yori clothing there. They have duck camp gear, and they have turtle box speakers, Stanley Cups, you name it. It is the Brazos Running Company, located at Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. It's the Brazos Running Company. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour here, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. All right, let's read a couple text messages. We go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Caitlin Torn is there. Caitlin, you got some for us?
Yes, we got a text from Johnson in College Station. He says, "Good morning, TexAgs crew. First off, I feel really good about where the Aggie basketball team is going into Yale. Buzz will have them dialed in. Random thought, with Texas getting rid of their men's basketball coach soon, should we be worried about Buzz getting hired by Texas? My gut tells me no due to Buzz's loyalty and connection to his players and the fact that A&M can match any offer financially. Just wanted your thoughts on this. A little PTSD from coach jumping ship to TU baseball last year.
I think Buzz has got a pretty good contract.
He does have a good contract, but I think that there are going to be other programs around the country that are going to pursue Buzz. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if he
listens.
If he listens and goes. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays. I always say nothing about college athletics surprises me. And maybe it's when A&M is finally finished with their season, it's a good question to ask Buzz if how happy he is in College Station.
Just make sure it's not Richard Zane asking.
Yeah. Because next thing you don't want to ask a selfish question. I don't know if Texas would go for.
I don't know if that would be a good fit.
I don't either, and I'll tell you why. There's a lot of places I don't know will be a good fit. And one year, I guess it was last year, and Buzz made a long, I don't want to call it a diatribe, but a long speech about that he didn't go out to eat because people want to come and talk to him.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to, they didn't go to church for a long time.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? And I know Indiana's no longer on the table, but could you coach at a place like Indiana if you don't want people coming to you talking about your programs, right?
Well, remember, Billy Clyde was not a good fit at Kentucky, and there were multiple reasons, but certain places
Sutton wasn't a good fit at Kentucky.
Right. Here's the way I look at it all. It's a game day. I know it's a talking point out there. I don't want to think about that when this team's about to be playing a game.
But you know what? What I do want to have a coach that other programs are interested in hiring, because that means he's getting the job done here.
But I also want that coach to know what he has here.
Yeah.
And appreciate that.
You do have a great situation here, I think.
Let's do one more, Caitlin.
We got another text from an anonymous 817 number that says,
can't go well.
Yeah, he says, y'all know my take on it, but can't really expect the fans to be excited when the head coach basically said March results don't really matter.
I'm sure he's still trying to win the game.
That's taking it somewhat out of context. I mean, that was the question I asked him, and he was saying it's not a successful season in his mind is not dependent on the results of late March. His point is, when we've played the schedule we played and beat Purdue and beat Texas Tech and beat Creighton and whoever else, I know there's other big things, and then you got into to the SEC and they're saying it's the best conference ever, and you finished with a fifth, and you were in the national rankings the entire year, and then you top it off with beating the number one team in the country for the first time in program history, and you have all that. He's just saying, I'm not going to say it's not a successful year if we don't have a long run. And yeah, he said, any acknowledged fans, media will say that.
Yeah. And that's the beauty, Luke. We have about 30 seconds here. We all can have our own opinion of it, and the majority will determine what that national narrative is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the opinion that, this season's been great, and that's going to probably take up about 25% of what I remember, but ultimately 75% is going to be what happens over the next couple weeks. And if they make it far in the tournament, it's going to be a great, successful year. And if not, I think people are going to look back on this era with mixed feelings.
Just ask Auburn what they felt about last year, and we'll see what happens this year. We'll drop it right here. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. When we come back, Michael Earley in Nashville. We'll chat with him here momentarily. It's TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. A lot of sports going on tonight. Let's do our weekly conversation with Michael Earley, and that is brought to you by Duck Camp. Duck Camp, we know the best moments happen out there on the boat, casting a line, or hauling the catch of the day. Be sure to check out Duck Camp's new spring hats, like the fan favorite crawfish hat and the redfish hat at duckcamp.com. We go to the Bumpy's Catering Hotline. We are joined by Michael Earley. Coach, how are you, sir?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm okay. So, look, kind of not a strange question, but a typical opening question. How are we feeling about things considering the ups and downs we've seen this season? But, the most recent memory was a great win over A&M Corpus Christi.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I struggle to say I sit here and I feel great because we're obviously not in a great spot, but I feel great with where I feel like we're headed, and I've always known we're going. I feel like everything that's happened to us is just kind of a part of our journey. It's going to be a part of our story. And no one sees what we do on a day-to-day basis. They don't see practice yesterday. They're not inside these walls. But the mentality of our team is not a defeated team. Now it's a team that understands that they have to play better. It's not just happy-go-lucky. Everything is joyful, so to speak. But it's a team that I just believe in them. I believe in them a ton. So there's an urgency there. There's always been. But at the same time, I think there's a sense of like, they know they can play. They know they can play. And internally, we know what we're doing, and we know the feel, and we know I see these guys every day. So, I'm excited to get out there tonight. Like, I can't wait. I can't wait to go out there and compete, and can't wait to see these guys get this thing going.
There's a couple ways to look at things, but if I want to be an optimist, and I know you all will be optimists about this, is the season's been a tough start, but it's a play or two in these games that have made such a difference. If this play goes that way or this play goes this way in another game, we're talking about a completely different vibe, which to me means you're potentially on the cusp of getting things right.
Yeah, that's how. I'll never stop thinking like that or never stop believing that, because it's true. Now in baseball, that's usually how the game works, right? It's a swing of the bat or a play, and you got to make those plays. And we haven't been doing that consistently, but I'll never accept a loss. Losing's not the standard, and definitely getting swept at home is not the standard and never will be. But the thing we got to take out of that as a team and organization is like, you're right there. You are right there. This is not crazy speak. Like I told him, a couple of days ago, like, I can sit here and say all these things to you about how good we could be and where we're going because I truly believe it. I'm not lying to you. And they believe it too, man. They're locked in. They're ready to go. Again, we had a great practice last night and just ready to roll tonight.
Is it difficult to insulate yourself, your team, and yourself from what people say, even good and bad, right? Preseason to now, is that a difficult thing in today's kind of modern era of social media and media just kind of everywhere?
Yeah, I'm sure it is for them. It's not for me. I've been in a bubble all year, which is something I've never done. I had to ask someone the other day, just kind of who made the basketball tournament, which was funny. But I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's tough. These kids grow up in it kind of started when I was in college, and then they've grown up with it, and it's just I'm not sure what they go through. It's what we talk about, blocking out the outside noise and doing that. But the reality is, it's always going to be there. It's going to be there for them. It's going to be there for me. It's just kind of a part of. You get to play at Texas A&M and get to play in the SEC. That comes with a price, so to speak. Like, you gotta people are free to criticize you, just like they can praise you. That just comes with it. If you take it personal, that's something you have to deal with yourself. But for us, it is what it is, man. Noise is noise, and we know what we're doing here, and we know where we're headed. So. You can write what you want about, say what you want, because it's all fair. Anything negative about us, I think, is. You could probably argue some of it's fair, some of it's not fair. I'm not sure what it is, but all I know is I love this team and I love where we're headed.
I hear the eagerness in your voice. What do you think your team, what's their mentality right now, the players themselves?
Yeah, our message right now is we're not going to let I think I shared this with Bronny, but we're not going to let the past be, predictive of the future. Like, it's there, it's real, but it's not who we are. It is not. We're not going to be defined by what has happened early on in the season. Like, there's no way. There's no way. There's no one in that locker room that feels like that, and I sure as heck don't feel like that. So the message is sometimes to be good baseball player, good coach, you have to think it. You have to believe it. You have to have that. And we have that. I know we have that as a team. Like, I think everyone really believes in our team. We got to get certain players to individually believe in themselves, right? Like that's the key to baseball. Like, you can, from a hitting standpoint, man, I've seen guys or played with guys. You can have a terrible swing. You can have a bad body. You can have no strength, but you always run into that kid that it just thinks he's the best player on the planet. And that power of belief is phenomenal. And I think an example of that would be like Prager on Friday. He didn't pitch his best, like, at all. But like, he's number one, he's a freaking competitor. But number two, it's like, do you think he ever thinks he's not good? Like, no, and not in an arrogant way. But when that guy gets the ball, like, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. So that's why he's able to do that when things aren't well. And we just got to get that out of more guys. I got to get that out of more guys. And that's just been the message. And we're going to continue to do it, man.
I think that's such a wonderful point. I'll bring up my children in this. Like, my boys sometimes are super high confidence when they're on the field, and then sometimes, like, they think they are, but their body language tells me otherwise. And that's the secret sauce, right? Figure out how to stay there through the highs and the lows.
Yeah, especially in a game that is, at least on the offensive side, is really failure based, especially from a team standpoint where. You win the series or you lose the series. I mean, there's no in between. I mean, you'll gather negatives from winning. You'll gather, the few positive you can from losing, but it's really black and white. You either perform or you don't. And from a hitting aspect or side of things, it's mentally, it'll beat you up. And then it gets rolling, and you can see it can snowball in either direction. You can see that with certain guys on our team. Like, just look at TK, for instance. Like, it's rolling. He's rolling. Now, credit to him as a freshman, just mentally mature beyond his years, and knows what kind of player he is. But I think you see some guys are close. I mean, I was pretty hard on myself as a player, like really hard, like extremely, and like. Gavin Cash almost hit 2. I don't know how I would have handled that, but him yesterday, he was in a great headspace. I'm like, hey, don't try to go make it happen. And he said, if I got that close, I'm obviously doing something right. So just keeping guys in just a good headspace and understand they're on the right track. And it's tough. I mean, hitting is tough, and I do believe it's contagious, whether you can put a stat or anything on that. And it's just, we're right there, man. We are right there.
Coach Earley, I know you all went to Houston a couple of weeks back, but I feel like this is the first real road trip, right? Like, you're outside the state of Texas. You're going to a place that is known for their baseball. Just talk about maybe this could be a good reset, like a good moment for the team, not only the bond, but just to go on the road and take care of business.
Yeah, it's always, I wish we could play every game at Bluebell Park in front of that atmosphere, but I think the positive, like you're saying, you kind of get to get away, right? You kind of get a bond together. It brings you tighter. You're going out to eat. The guys are going out to eat with their buddies. Coaches are hanging out. You're meeting. It's like when you go off to camp or something, and as a football team, and just kind of isolated a little bit. Like, I don't know anyone here. They don't know anyone here. We're in Nashville, Tennessee. It's rainy. It's 42 degrees. I love it. I love kind of that feel of you're going, into enemy territory, so to speak. And, everyone in the stands is going against you, and everyone there wants you to lose. And it's just all you got is each other. Like, I mean, there's nothing better. There's nothing better than playing at someone else's park and making it dead silent. So it's really cool.
As I was preparing for this series, I read this note and it caught my attention. Vandy's got 5 quad 1 RPI wins, the second most in college baseball. So I say that, and I follow that up with just talk about the challenges of Vanderbilt.
Yeah, they're really it's how they recruit and how they've always done their program. I think this will be the fastest team we'll play all year, just pure foot speed from top to bottom. They always got guys that can pitch, good velocity, good metrics, all the things you could imagine. Is what Vanderbilt has. They've always done it. They've done it at a high level. They're not going to beat themselves. So we got to continue to put pressure on them. throughout the game to try to make them and force some mistakes. They got a good rotation. They're mixing it up a little bit this weekend with it being Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Got some good guys out of the pen, some good left-handers, but I think their team speed overall and their ability to play defense is kind of where they're at right now.
Tim Corbin's been there for forever. And just talk about the challenges of going up against a guy who's done it at a high level for a very, very long time.
Yeah, he's clearly a phenomenal coach, Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it. Yeah. Challenges, it's just like every coach in the SEC. He's obviously really good. And, I feel the same way about us and our staff and our team. So we're up for the challenge. The game will decide at the end of the day how we do. But yeah, we're ready to go. Like, I wish we played in like 5 minutes, but we don't.
So then that makes my next question kind of a moot point, but the Thursday start to a series, does that kind of change anything, shift anything, not mindset, but just does it pose its own set of problems?
I think it depends on who your guys are. I think, and specifically pitchers. But with the guys we have, it does. I put zero thought into it. It's 6 days as opposed to 7 days rest. It's not my arm, so I don't know how they feel, but I know I got 3 professionals starting this weekend. And by professionals, I mean by how they carry themselves, how they go about their business, how they don't make excuses. And they're all good. They're good to go. So when you got Ryan Prager and Lampkin and Patton, I don't think about a short day. If I had lesser guys mentally, maybe I would, but not with those guys. So I feel great about it.
Well, I was going to say, it's also an extension of the coaching staff and leadership when you're starting rotation are professionals, as you mentioned.
Yeah. We got to look our inside our walls. Like if you see it, like it is, we're dialed in. We're dialed in. We're doing everything I believe right now, but winning consistently. From a standpoint of guys, they show up on time. They do things the right way. They lift the right way. They eat the right way. They carry themselves the right way. They interact with fans the right way. Like we're checking those boxes, and it's the character of those guys we have in the locker room. And I got to believe you continue to do things the right way, it spills over into other parts of your life. And just knowing them and how much belief I have in them is why I'm so confident that this ship will turn in the right direction. And it's going to be a really beautiful thing.
We saw some solid nights on Tuesday from Ben and Bear. Just have they earned themselves some more playing time?
They have. Yeah. We're in the situation right now in the season where it's like, certain spots in the lineup, like you got to play well. Like you got to play well, or someone else is going to play, and they might be getting flipped back and forth. But I think maybe what people don't know about Ben Royo is, had a really good freshman year at Rice. Then the next year, not a good year at all, and just one of those guys who has he has some really good tools, and he's just been a phenomenal teammate in his time not playing. But like this guy is skilled, like a really, really skilled defender. He's not just playing because he's a good dude. Like there is some talent there, and he can run. He's one of the faster guys on the team. So yeah, he's overly earned his chance, and he's going to get it. And same thing with Bear, and Jacob's still going to play too. Him and Jacob will continue to go a little bit back and forth, but right now, just with Bear and how he throws and the speed of their team, we're most likely going to go. Royal will definitely play. We'll most likely go with Bear tonight. So excited to see them get out there and play, and especially Ben. Like he's one of those guys. I root for all my guys, but I just love how he's went about his business, and there's something in there that's more than what you might see.
I know you'll be busy tonight, but you excited about the basketball team?
Yeah, real excited. Those are the only games I'll watch, but I'm fired up for them, man. I love basketball, so just watching just how like effort is my main thing. I just love to watch in sports. So whether our team plays good or bad, you just see like how those guys play is just. It's awesome to me. Like I think winning and losing is really, really tough, but I think how our team goes about it, man, like you can never doubt their effort. And that's me being a fan of the team. I really just appreciate it when I watch it.
Well, I hear the eagerness in your voice for this series tonight, and we're looking forward to seeing you come away with some wins, and we'll talk to you next week, sir.
Yes, sir. Enjoy your time.
Thank you. Michael Earley there on the Puppies Catering Hotline, rooting for them tonight and, of course, throughout the series and the rest of the year. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with an open segment. Want to hear a little bit more from Aggie football. And you know what? We'll play a little bit of my interview with Henry Coleman from the locker room yesterday, because I think you can hear that focus we've been talking about. We'll do that. Then at 9:35, we'll talk to Billy Liucci and chit-chat a little bit about this series and much, much more. All right, before we do all that, let's hit a break. And as I'm looking for my talking points, that's what I do. That's when I just try to slow things down here. Let's talk about the Association of Former Students. If your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, then check out the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during the year throughout these awesome marquee events. We're talking about the fun ones like Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo, and the Gathering. They welcome tens of thousands of guests, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of those attendees. These events offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. These options include title sponsorship, naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition of social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner that's been with the organization supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available throughout the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. It is the Association of Former Students. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Get ready for the ultimate culinary showdown, the Pantry to Plate Chef Challenge, benefiting the Brazos Valley Food Bank. Thursday, April 10th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Texas A&M Hotel and Conference Center. Watch the local chefs. And let's see, we have Blake Zeltman of Zeltman's Deli, Corey Thomas of Reminisce Nollins, and Tanner Purdom of the Wild Garlic, turning everyday pantry staples into gourmet masterpieces live under pressure. We'll have celebrity judges there, and KBTX's Carla Castillo and Alex Egan as your hosts. This high-energy event is packed with fun and flavor. Enjoy gourmet bites, beer and wine, and the chance to shake things up. Bid to sabotage a chef, upgrade their ingredients, or vote for your favorite to win People's Choice. Can't make it on the night of? Donate online and support your favorite chef from anywhere. Join us in the Fight for Hunger-free Brazos Valley. Get your tickets now at bvfb.org/pantry-plate-chef-challenge-2025. Good times. All right. I want to hear from Henry Coleman from yesterday. All right. So because we've talked about the kind of the energy and the focus and the mindset of that locker room yesterday. And it was every man, but I think Henry kind of encapsulates what it felt like to talk to A&M yesterday. So if you guys haven't seen some of my locker room, we're going to play part of my interview with Henry and just get a sense for the guy. The guy can be a CEO. The guy can play at the next level. I hope to see him play professional ball somewhere. But the guy he's just listen to him, and I think you're going to come away very impressed. Here's my one-on-one yesterday with Henry Coleman.
What's this one like this time around for this group that's been together for so long?
In the front of your mind, you'll say that it's different, but in the back of your mind, it's pretty much the same. As far as it takes a lot to get here, whether you are a 16 seed, whether you're the number one overall seed, I think it takes a ton to get here. So for us, it speaks volumes of how our season went and how much work was put into the season. And so we're excited to be here. We're blessed to be here, and we're super grateful.
When you look at this Yale team, there's a lot of things that they do well. They can shoot the ball. They don't turn the ball over a lot. But to me, it's always been about what A&M does, not what the other teams do. Is that how you see it?
That's how I always see it. I don't, whether we're playing the top seed in the SEC a couple weeks ago or whether we're going to play, this Yale team tomorrow, we have to focus on us. We know they're a really good team. They're well coached. They play just as hard as us. I would say watching film, you look at teams, some teams play hard, but you look at this team, they play ultra hard. They're always diving on the floor for a loose ball. They play with a chip on their shoulder, and so I think it's going to be a super fun game, but I think for us, we have to stick back to our foundation and what's got us here all year long.
Do you guys, the guys who've been here for so long, kind of look at what the AC Law, Joseph Jones team did and the way people talk about them with so much love? Do you guys think about that for this group? Like, hey, we're writing our story. This is our last hurrah.
Yeah, those guys are unbelievable players, and I think it's special what they have done. But we're writing our own story here. This group has been together a while, and so I think this is, kind of the climax for us, even though it's right around the end. I think it's the climax of how much work we've put in, how much we've kept our faith, the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations that we've gone through. With this group of guys, it just speaks volumes to the coaches and then the character of everybody on the team.
I feel like since you've been here, there's been these storylines, right? Year one, you should have been in the NCAA tournament and had fun at the NIT and almost won it. Year two, we're here. We're making some noise. We're excited to be here. Last year, I think it was a phenomenal season. Just unfortunately, Houston had the last buckets in that one. This one feels like it's going to be another growth step. Is that how you see it?
All right, you're always trying to grow. I think if you're complacent with life or whatever you're doing, then you'll stay that way. You'll fall into a circle of the same events over and over. And so if you're not trying to grow individually, then as a team, you're not in the right place. And I don't think anybody on this team is not trying to grow. We're always trying to grow. Whether that's basketball, whether that's life, we're always just trying to grow and go upwards.
Thank you, Henry.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
All right, good times yesterday talking to Henry Coleman. That focus, that attitude, that energy is going to be great. And let's see, I got a text from Kay. So just to let you all know, at the Aggie men's basketball team for folks here in Denver. If you want to go support them before they head out there, looks like at 2 p.m. they are going to be leaving. The 12th Man Foundation excited to host a pregame reception prior to A&M men's basketball game versus Yale Thursday, March 20th. Join them for a complimentary light. Is this for everybody? I can read this for everybody? All right, cool. Join them for complimentary light bites, beverages, and Aggie fellowship as we send off the Aggies men's basketball team. Prepare to watch Texas A&M beat the hell out of Yale. It's going to be Thursday, which is today, obviously. Tip-off 2 o'clock, or excuse me, time is 2 o'clock for the tip-off at 5:25. That's Mountain Time. For those listening in Texas, obviously 6:25. But join them at the Hyatt Place Assembly Hall Bar and Market there on 440 14th Street, Denver, Colorado. So if the more information, just go to the Association of Former Students, or excuse me, the 12th Man Foundation's website. But it's on Twitter. We'll have it out there as well. So if you want to go support the team, you're in the Colorado area, go support them. We'll probably be out there as well. So it'll be fun. As I close out this segment, I did want to kind of go back to, if we all painted this picture to you in October, when you looked at that non-conference schedule, if we painted this picture for you entering this season, what would you think? Would you have come into this season? Because I know there was a time where like, man, maybe a 2 seed's possible, maybe a 3 seed's possible. But had we told you before the season, the Aggie basketball team will be a 4 seed, they'll be the highest seeded team at their first round regional site, right? For first and second round, if they're able to win. Would you have taken it? Would you have been excited about it? Because I think what happens is the micro stories during a season kind of get us super up and super down. For instance, I know what many of you are thinking. Had we told you to be 7-1 going into November, would you have taken it in football? You would have said absolutely, right? Then if I would have told you, but you would lose the month of November, would you have taken it? Absolutely not. And unfortunately, the way this team played down the stretch basketball-wise is not exactly like football, but I understand that there's the huge win over Auburn and the follow-up of the encore victory over LSU. But you feel like the team wasn't clicking, but that schedule was crazy. So I understand the apprehension and like, I just don't want to be let down again. But it's freaking game day. And we have a fun basketball team with 8 seniors that we have watched kind of grow together and become this unit. And they're going to go into a game tonight where the world wants, and not because it's A&M, but because the world likes upsets. They like this 13-4, and it's, an Ivy League school with so many guys that people, they just root for that style of basketball, and they want to see the SEC go down because the SEC is a villain, and A&M, they do this and they do that. It's an opportunity for this group, this team, to really kind of separate themselves from other basketball years. If this team can go on a run and get to an Elite Eight, if they can, we will remember them with that same kind of love that we remember that team in 05, right? And in that era of Aggie basketball. I think this era, to borrow from Buzz's thoughts, this era of Aggie basketball will be beloved, regardless of what happens tonight and beyond. But to reach that upper echelon of just the kind of a difference maker, it starts tonight and it doesn't end tonight, right? They've got to go on a run. And I would love to see this group, not only because it is my team, right? I am an Aggie and I'm going to root for them, even if I didn't have relationships and know the players in that locker room. But we all have like this, we've been rooting for them for so long. And they're Coach Earley talked about it in the last segment, the way they play the game with so much energy. Tonight, I think they've got to play not only just an A game, but they've just got to play smart basketball to beat a very good Yale team. And if they're able to do that, they're going to have another tough challenge, and I'm excited for them. I think we should all, because had we gotten this information beforehand, we all signed up for it and say, let's go. And the micro journeys that we talked about to get here, sure, kind of made the 4 feel different than it would have, but here we are. All right, we'll hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Live, we're going to hear from Billy Liucci. We'll talk to Billy about all things happening in just Aggie sports. We have a lot this week with Aggie football starting spring practice tomorrow. We have Aggie baseball tonight starting their series against Vanderbilt, and obviously the NCAA tournament with the Aggie men's basketball team. All right, we're talking about my longtime friend Chance McClain. He likes to capture people's stories. He captures your memories. He captures the the family essence, right? That's what Chance does so well with Heritage Films. They make documentary films about families. That's like for me what it's about. But whatever your group is into, that's what Chance can do. If you have a group of buddies that play golf together on the weekends and you'd like to capture one of those weekends and have them be an eye in the sky of the fun times at a tailgate, an Aggie tailgate, or if you want to tell your dad's family story, how he met your mom and how he started the family business, or maybe it's the family ranch, whatever it may be, let Chance McClain and his company, Heritage Films, do a 2-hour documentary on your family, right? It is just something that is so much fun, and we had a great time. It was very therapeutic doing it. Go to the website, yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341. It is Heritage Films, yourheritagefilm.com. Denver this morning, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. That's where we find Billy Liucci this morning. Billy, good morning.
Nuño, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's
keeping Denver warm.
It was snowing when we got here, but it wasn't the kind of snow that I like.
What is the kind of snow you like?
The kind that sticks to the ground, not the kind that melts immediately.
Oh,
like,
I know, right?
Right, like it was like wet snow, not like the kind of snow that you can. If I'm going to be somewhere where it snows, I want it to snow. I want to build a snowman.
Oh, it was not the kind that you like.
Yeah, it was not the kind. No, it was.
I got you.
More on the sleet side of things.
Yeah, never good, especially in. Yeah,
I agree. I love how we make it awkward sometimes. Hey, let's not make it awkward and talk about this game tonight because, man, it's game day. I get really excited on game days, and I think this basketball team, regardless of how things went down the stretch, they have an opportunity to really cement themselves in Aggie history by having a nice run. And I think, look, Yale's going to be very difficult, and I know that some of the things they do are kryptonite for A&M. But I think with some of the things A&M does when they do it at a high level is kryptonite for every team they play.
I mean, ask Bruce Pearl, ask Rick Barnes, Nate Oates. I know they lost those games, but Purdue, Texas Tech. I mean, A&M's played some of the best teams in college basketball this year, and they've won their share of them. And the ones they've lost have quite literally been final minute games. I mean, the only one that wasn't against a top tier foe was Florida. Florida took it to them. But you look at Bama, Auburn, Tennessee, so 1 and 2 seeds plus Florida. In 3 of those 4 games, A&M gave the opponent all they wanted, winning 1 of them. And then you look at the teams that are kind of on that, more of that Michigan line in terms of Michigan lost, and they're playing better ball right now, but they heated up during the tournament. Heading into that, Michigan fans were pretty down on Dusty May's squad. They were questioning, everything about the hire at a certain point this season. Now they're playing, like I said, much better ball, but look at kind of that level of team. They lost to Oklahoma. They lost to Arkansas. A&M's 3-0 in games against those teams. Tough, hard-fought games. I think Missouri is around that level as a 5 or 6 seed. Ole Miss is around that level. Win-win. Very difficult wins. I mean, count Oklahoma, and 3 of those 4 games are essentially buzzer beaters, So you can kind of know what to expect if they get into the second round. I think it's going to be an absolute dogfight, but I think A&M is very battle-tested in that regard. Not that Michigan's not in the Big Ten, but I'm talking about literally these final minute, final possession type games. I like A&M's chances to get out of there, David. I really do. And it's not being overly optimistic, I don't think. And I think A&M's got the best resume by far in that region. They're the most proven team in that region. Look, people were saying that about A&M coming out of the SEC tournament for a couple of years when they went on deep runs. Well, they're just hot right now. Well, that's the same deal about Michigan. We'll see if they can carry it over. But to me, what Michigan's seasoned body of work is, and how we've been taught that the conference tournaments don't count. And this is where the one spot where I told Luke, I'm like, you haven't been doing this long enough to just emphatically say that conference tournaments don't count, because sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And I think the Big Ten tournament counted for Michigan. I think it brought them up a seed line, whereas the A&M, they're finished that, what were they, 2-4 down the stretch? 2-4, 2-5 even.
2-5.
That finish took them from a 3 seed, maybe that Texas game. They were a double overtime loss to Texas, maybe a missed free throw, maybe a worst possibly time out you could imagine away from, they were that close to having a 3 seed, whereas Michigan probably had to win that entire Big Ten tournament to get up to a 5 seed. This might be more of a 3-6 type game as much as any in this tournament if they can get to it. But obviously they're going to have to get through Yale tonight. I would be lying if I said I was not apprehensive or nervous about that game, but I also believe the Aggies will figure out a way to win it.
This is Around College Athletics, brought to you by Milliken Reserve, a College Station community featuring homes, trails, farms, and wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. Take part in the Milliken Reserve community with a Conservancy membership. Learn more at millikenreserve.com. Not sure how much of the locker room and podium you got to see yesterday, but there was the swagger that we're used to seeing from this team still there, but it's kind of morphed into a focus, which I'm kind of excited to see what that translates to tonight.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, this is their 3rd year in a row to get here. So now this is normal to them. Now this is, there's nothing about being on this stage or in this single elimination and your season's over mode that should faze them or surprise them. You look at some of these guys like Wade Taylor, it's his 4th straight year to be in this position. Most of this team, it's their 3rd straight year. Some of the guys, it's their 2nd. Everyone understands, like, bad game, you're out. Don't make free throws, you're out. Too many turnovers, you're out. Like, they've been on both sides of it now, too. They know what it takes to advance, and they know what it takes or what it doesn't take to advance, how to get sent home. I think they should be very comfortable in this space. If you think about it, tournament last year, 2 games, 3 games in the SEC tournament. The year before that, 4 games in the SEC tournament. Then they were knocked out in the first round. This team knows what it takes to, on this setting, good and bad. So there should be nothing that they're not confident about. There really shouldn't. And I think, David, this group has been through an absolute grind this season. You go back and look at that non-conference, and you look at this tournament, and you see Creighton, and you see Oregon, and you see Purdue, and you see Texas Tech, and I'm probably leaving somebody out that I'm forgetting, but I just rattled off 4 of those teams. And then you look at that 1 and 2 seed line, and you see Tennessee and Auburn and Bama and Florida, and you see Kentucky on that 3 line. Now we're up to like 10 games, not to mention the Missouri, the Oklahomas, the Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Like, this team has been, it's definitely the toughest schedule a Texas A&M team has ever played. I don't think there's anything close to it when you combine what they had to do in conference versus what they challenged themselves with out of conference. So when you combine that, I mean, I know people don't want to experience it. I didn't want to see them lose to Vandy, and I didn't want to see them lose to Texas last week, and heartbreaker against Tennessee. But the reality is, they hit a skid against generally elite competition. Every single team they played during that stretch made the tournament. Every single one of them. Well, I guess LSU didn't. So 6 out of 7 made it into March Madness. They're playing in this tournament. I just think they hit a wall of really tough opposition. And I think this is kind of that early exit, as much as we hated it, we'll see if it pays off, because I think there's a chance that rest and reset might have been exactly what this team needed, and that might be what you're seeing and what you saw yesterday, what you heard.
It is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy, there's 13 SEC teams left. When the first round is done, you think we'll still have double-digit SEC teams?
Yeah, I do. Well, double-digit. We're down. There were 13. We're down to 12.
No, there were 14. Now we're down to 13.
Yeah, I do.
I do too.
I think obviously, I think A&M wins, and I think Kentucky wins. That's 2, and I think those 4 top 2 seeds win. So you're already up to 6 there. I like Ole Miss. Mizzou's an interesting one. I could see them having an issue with Drake. Mississippi State and Baylor. I could see Baylor knocking off Mississippi State, although that'll be a hell of a game. That's a really interesting first round game. I think Arkansas as a 10 seed is actually going to win. So yeah, it's good. I think there'll be double digits left after this weekend.
I agree. Any thoughts on what's going to happen across the street? Or when I say across the street, University of Texas, Rodney Terry. It looks like all reports out that they're going to move on from him, and they were a very talented team. I think they went further than people expected the way the season went, but they got stomped yesterday at the end. I should say the last 6-7 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness for Xavier. Now see if Texas goes and hires Sean Miller, who I think would be a hell of a hire at a bigger place again. Not that Xavier's too small. They're in the Big East and have a lot of history, but you know what I'm saying? A job that would give him a ton of resources. I think he'd do really well there, but I think he'll be on their radar. Up in Nashville, I kept hearing Quinn Snyder. And then I think the Hawks took him from $8 million to $12 million. The fact that name was coming up, though, at $8 million makes me wonder what exactly they're shooting for there in Austin. So when you hear the name Billy Donovan, I wouldn't rule it out. So I think Donovan will be somebody they go after. I think that'd be a hard pull still from the NBA. And then, yeah, Sean Miller, I don't know. I thought Will Wade would be a hot prime candidate, but that tells me that Texas probably didn't really go after him, because I don't know that he'd taken NC State if he thought, he was in the mix in Austin, because everyone's known that Terry's likely out.
Last thing for you, Billy, because we got about a minute and a half left. Marcel yesterday talked about putting on weight and also completing at a higher clip. That version of Marcel to me really excites me with what we have already seen them add offensively.
Yeah, no question. I think he mentioned when we sat there and did the interview that he was focusing on that, and then there are phases of his game he's well aware of that he is working to and needs to improve on. And so I think, look, he's added some weight. He certainly needs to add some more, and he mentioned that. But again, if Marcel improves his just the completion percentage, hitting the guys that are open when they're open, just field vision down the field, which again, absolutely he can improve on that. And he had moments where he looked sensational last year, but he was also a freshman that didn't start the season as a starter, had played one game, kind of a glorified scrimmage in a bowl, and was thrown out there. And it was his first run through an SEC schedule and a new offense, which I also think people aren't factoring in, because most times somebody in his position will be in their second year in an offense. He was not. So he had growing pains and ups and downs. So I think as long as Marcel busts his ass this offseason and works at it, and I'm not just talking about the physical side of it, I'm also talking about with Colin Klein, learning that offense backwards and forwards. I think the sky is the freaking limit for this guy. I really do. Now, again, the receivers are going to have to help him. And you hear him talk about Casey Concepcion, and you go pop in his highlight tape, and you hear Mike Elko talk about Mario Craver and what the A&M DBs were saying about him last year when they played Mississippi State, where he said he was their hardest cover last year. When you hear those kind of things, you go, damn. And you go see Craver making plays against Georgia and Texas, and you go, damn. and you've added those guys. And I really like the fact that they're leaving Terry Bussey at receiver and saying he's a wideout, because everybody was asking last year, what about Bussey? Get Bussey more touches. And I wrote that several times. Well, when you come from playing every position in every sport at a 1A high school, and you don't get to be an early enrollee, and you had an injury in track, so you were slowed even when you got there in the summer, and then you played corner, and then they moved you to receiver. Man, it's tough to actually hit the ground running, and last year was really a learning curve for him. And you still saw some big plays, some really impressive snags, but with him being a full-time receiver, I think that's when you're looking for like star power on the offense, and we're looking at what they added through the portal. I think they'll have a brand new player named Terry Bussey that we only saw in very limited spurts last year, that I think could really come into his own this season. So that pass catching core, I'm really excited about for Marcel, and that makes me as fired up about this pass game improving as number 10 does.
Thank you, Billy. We'll have to hit a break here. A short segment on the other side. Thank you, buddy. TexAgs Live. I'm just going to go. As a reminder, the final segment of the show is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12-979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's, serving Aggie Land since 1984. They have your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. When we come back, Logan Lee. And we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, the Rollo Insurance Studio on the road here in Denver, Colorado. I remember the good old days when I'd be out on a tournament run for A&M, and Logan Lee would do some hits in the hotel room with me in New York City. That was in the NIT run. And then we recorded a whole show the night after they lost to Xavier so we could get going and catch our flight. Logan Lee joining us here on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Good morning, buddy.
I mean, was that really the good old days?
It was not that long ago. It was like kind of the beginning of this like program, this version of this program's like rebirth, if you will.
It was the beginning, and it did kick it off, and you know that we laid the foundation for where it is now.
So you know this team well, and you were there in the very beginning. So I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff we've talked about today or the locker room, but the locker room that I ran into yesterday was a very focused locker room, as opposed to at the NIT, you know, like young kids, bright eyes, happy to be there. The next year, the NCAA tournament, this version of them really focused, Logan.
Like, not only is this a better version of what that was, but I think whether they want to talk about it or not, they understand that this is, for the majority of them, this is the last go. And if they lose, they're not coming back. They've got to go on to another chapter. And whether that is professionally, whether they stop playing altogether and their career is over, that's a realization at this point. And you better be focused, especially knowing what Yale did last season in the tournament and what they could possibly do this year. No one enters these games thinking they're going to lose. Everybody goes into the games thinking they're going to win. And I'm glad to hear that you said that they're focused, because I think for this game, it's going to be about discipline. Which style can win? Who can play their game and impose their will to get to the second round?
So when you look at Yale, what jumps out at you at their style of basketball?
Man, they're efficient. They're efficient at both ends of the court. They take good shots on offense. They wait for good shots on offense. But if you look at what they've done throughout the Ivy League, it's not like when I say they're efficient and they wait for good shots and they're only scoring 60 points a game. They've scored over 100 points this season. They've scored 90 points multiple times. And so it's not like they're a slow down offense. They're a high-powered offense that's just very efficient. And a little of that has to do with the fact that they were the best team in the Ivy League and they didn't have to go through the gauntlet of the SEC like Texas A&M did. But a lot of it has to do with the fact that they just play their game and they look for good shots, and they have a number of different players that score in a number of different ways. And then on defense, they don't foul a lot, but they don't create a lot of steals. And so they're solid. They're not pressing up. They're just in the right spot at the right time. I think that's one of the things that A&M can take advantage of. They can put Yale on its heels. Get them going downhill and attacking the basket, playing inside out. But man, Yale is just extremely efficient and they are very disciplined in what they do.
Two-part question for you. How much can we read into the way A&M has played this last stretch? Losing 5 of 7, not winning games that I think they should have won, but also getting the biggest win of the season against number 1 Auburn.
I mean, I think that's what you have to look at. The gauntlet of the SEC, like I mentioned, losing the games that they lost. I mean, all of them except for Vanderbilt were games against top 10 opponents, I believe, except for Mississippi State. And I wouldn't take anything. I wouldn't take anything like that. This is a brand new season. This is a Texas A&M team who they know what they have to do. Obviously, you look at teams like North Carolina. A lot of people said they shouldn't have been in, but in the last month, they were actually playing pretty well. If you look at how they played in their conference tournament, they played really well. You can go 2 parts. One, you look at teams like North Carolina who didn't play well almost the entire year. They only had 1 quad 1 win, but then they started picking it up at the end of the season. The last 3 weeks were really good for them, and they've carried it into the tournament, their play-in game, and then their first round game. You can also look at Texas A&M, their entire body of work, non-conference schedule, hardest schedule that Texas A&M as a program has ever played in the history, and they did a fantastic job going through that. The SEC, the best basketball conference overall from top to bottom in the history of college basketball, and they handled that. They had some pitfalls towards the end, but as a whole, they've done great.
Talking to Logan Lee here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Then you look at what Yale's done recently. 1 loss in 2025. They've won 16 of 17 games. I understand that most of the teams that they have played in 25 are not of the ilk of an SEC team. But winning is winning, and when teams believe they can win, that can be a very dangerous recipe for a team in the NCAA tournament.
Absolutely. And to add to the danger of that recipe is A&M getting off to a slow start. If A&M starts slow, it could be a very long game, and Yale could stay in, and it's going to be down to the wire. However, if A&M can impose its will immediately, I would like to think that they're going to start inside out. They're going to put the ball in Pharrell Payne and Henry Coleman's hands, and they're going to be physical, and they're going to set the tone, not just for offense and defense against Yale, but for the officials as well, because that is going to play a part in it. You've got to adjust to the officials. I don't know what officials are calling the game. I don't know what conference they're from or how they usually call games this season, but A&M is going to have to adjust for that, but they have to set the tone. And if they allow Yale to play their type of game, then it could be a long game for Texas A&M. I think you have to really go out there, and in the first 5 minutes up until the first media timeout, A&M has to show, hey, Yale, this isn't the Ivy League. This isn't, you've lost one game in 2025. Now you're up against an SEC powerhouse team, and you're going to be in for a long night.
You've been on an SEC coaching staff, all right, or a big-time SEC coaching staff. Do you remember looking back at prior years and preparing for an opponent? Is that a thing? Like because we know A&M so intimately, we can be like, I think the Penn State game is the one that keeps popping up. That was a couple years ago. Yeah, some of the same personnel, but that recipe of shooting threes. This team is very good at shooting threes. Do you think that they look at that at all, or is it all about what's happened in the last 10 games?
I think it's what's happened in the probably conference play, unless there is an opponent. So the coaching staff is going to look at A&M's schedule and say, is there an opponent that plays basketball like we do? And then they'll go look at that game. Where were they successful? Where weren't they successful? But overall, they're going to look at, when I was at Kentucky and doing scouting reports for Gillespie, we looked at the last 15 games. And we went over all 15 games, and we said this is how they've played in the last 15 games, and this is what they have done, and this is what their wrinkles are throughout those games. I think right now, because A&M has lost some games in the last 15 games, and they've also won some games, I think they have a good mix just in the last 5 games of A&M to see what they should do and what they shouldn't do, what they should focus on and what they should stray away from. Because A&M has losses and they have wins, and they've played well and they haven't played well in those last 5 games. So, it's tough to scout A&M because, like you and I, we watch it all the time, and we still don't fully understand the offense. Buzz talks about the predictable shots. Well, it's predictable for them because they practice it and they take those shots all day, every day in practice. We don't see that all the time. We see that in games. And so it's tough to scout this team on offense outside of, hey, they're going to hit a ball screen. Watch out for Wade Taylor shooting it. Watch out for Zurich Phelps. So he has that lightning quick first step. He's going to try to get to the rim. Pharrell Payne, he's going to back you down. He's going to be physical. He likes to turn over his left shoulder, but he can go both ways. Henry Coleman, if he's at the top of the key, watch for him to drive. He's not taking a shot from there, but he's going to try to get to the basket because he has found success doing that. Things like that. They can scout personnel, but plays are pretty tough to scout against Texas A&M.
So we mentioned the 3-point shooting from opponents being a potential spot of vulnerability for A&M. What else? What else from that Yale does could be vulnerable for A&M?
Yale goes backdoor a lot. They make backdoor cuts. They read well. They play off of each other. But I think the thing for A&M to focus on with Yale is they've got to press up. They can't allow set open threes. Polakidis, he can make it off the move. Townsend, he can make it off the move. But for the most part, if you look at their shot attempts, and I watched 2.5 games, a total of 2.5 games from Yale, so I don't know them intimately like this Texas A&M team already does. But for the most part, the shots that they take are open shots. and they're not moving their feet a ton. And if A&M's going to have to run them off the line, press up, make them take the dribble, because A&M's help defense is so quick and so long that they can cover so much ground, more so than any Ivy League school that Yale has faced. And that's what's gonna help A&M is speeding them up, getting them off their spots, and then rotating back to close out. A&M can cover ground way better than any Ivy League school that Yale has faced.
Talking to Logan Lee here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. All right, give me a subplot star in this movie. A&M, the musical. They win this game tonight. Who is somebody that needs to, if Wade has a typical game, who else needs to show up? I think Pharrell Payne's another name that we need to see. Is there maybe a third name in that list that needs to really have an impact?
I mean, obviously Zurich Phelps. He can get to the rim. I think Zurich's going to do his normal thing. I think Wade's going to do his normal thing. You can expect Henry and Pharrell to do their thing in the post. Solo is always going to be his guy. He who he is with his energy, his defense, his rebounding. Same thing with Anderson Garcia. I would love to see March Manny to step up. A&M needs him to be good to make a deep run. And it starts today. Let's see how Manny fares against this Yale team, who is solid on defense, but not overly aggressive. And so Manny is, how he is. He is aggressive on offense. He is going to look for his shot. And against a defense like Yale, who sometimes breaks down and can give you the lane, let's see where Manny does on the offensive end. He's always pretty solid on defense. He's a decent rebounder, but if he can get in the flow and if he can get some confidence, I think that's going to be big. That's going to be huge for a second round matchup.
Logan, Yale's known to not turn the ball over a lot, but if you look at their losses, they do turn the ball over quite a bit. So 5 of their 7 losses, they had 10 or more turnovers in a bunch of those, in 5 of them, excuse me. And 2 of those games, they had 14. 2 of those games, they had 16. 1 of those games, they had 14. So to me, it sounds like one of A&M's recipes, which always is forcing turnovers, right? But against a team like Yale, who doesn't turn the ball over, but when they do, they are extremely vulnerable. That's something that I think sticks out when you look at box scores and stats and the way teams play that A&M will be focused on.
Absolutely, and that's what I was alluding to when I'm talking about covering ground. Pressuring the ball, getting them off their spot, making them put it on the floor, not just catch and shoot and catch and survey the floor. If the defense can get up in them, force them to dribble, when they make that second pass or that third pass, A&M can cover so much ground with their length and their athleticism and their speed that is going to force Yale into turnovers. It's going to force them into positions that they haven't been accustomed to against these Ivy League schools. And, it's easy to say that A&M's athleticism is going to overpower Yale, but that wasn't the case last season. So there has to be more to it. And I think the more to it part of that storyline is the discipline that A&M has to have on offense. You combine that defense, that helter-skelter defense that A&M has that gets everybody a little riled up and a little uncomfortable with a disciplined offense, and all of a sudden I think you have a double-digit win for the Aggies.
What does it say about the Yale offense that only a third of their points come from the three-point line? And I know you mentioned them being efficient, and they will use clock, yet they still score 83 points a game.
I'm telling you, they are not a slow-moving team. They will get up shots. I mentioned earlier, backdoor cuts. They are a very good passing team, but their passes come from the defense not pressuring up. Their passes come when their toes are right at the three-point line. If A&M can force Yale's offense to play 2 or 3 feet outside the three-point line, it changes all the angles for their passes. It changes the angles for their shots, their cuts, and everything. It really extends the floor, and it puts them out of position. I think A&M's defense is going to be able to do that, which is going to slow Yale down and not allow them to score those easy buckets in the paint that they're accustomed to having.
Talking to Logan Lee here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Logan, what are some areas? So, like, the thing that concerns me, it's not just the three-point shooting from A&M and not just the three-point shooting from Yale, but it's when those three-point shots are coming, right? So, from an A&M perspective, when they rely on threes because they're worried about a deficit, how do you kind of like buffer that? How do you, as a team, not get caught up in like trying to catch up or keep up with the Joneses?
Matt, I think that's on Buzz and his staff and Wade Taylor. Wade Taylor is the leader of this team, and if he's got to understand time, score, momentum, and if there's a deficit on the scoreboard, he can't come down and shoot a 35-foot shot because he wants to put this team on his shoulder and bring them back immediately. He's got to be, again, I know I'm going to wear this word out, but he's got to be disciplined. This entire team has to be disciplined. And the coaching staff, if they see those three-point shots coming, even though they may be predictable shots, it may not be what Texas A&M needs at the time. Utilize those timeouts. As a coach, you can't be afraid to utilize a timeout early to maybe stop some of that pressing by your team on offense. Get them set in, get them ready to go. This is the tournament. The adrenaline's going to be going for both teams, and adrenaline can work in a positive way. It can work in a negative way. If it's sliding and if it's getting out of hand, a couple of bad shots in a row, call a timeout. Settle your guys down. Make sure that they understand it's early in the game. Let's get back on track. Let's stay disciplined, and let's do what we're supposed to do to win this game.
Logan, regardless of what happens tonight, has this been a successful season?
Absolutely. Absolutely, it's been a successful season. You look at the non-conference schedule and what they did and who they played against. You look at the toughest SEC conference as a whole, and the number of quad one games that they had to play, the number of top 10 teams that they had to play, the success that they found throughout all of it, beating the number one team in the country, which A&M has had 8 chances previously and never did it, and they won this year. It's the first time in program history to beat a number one ranked school. They've done a lot of good things. However, teams get judged on postseason play. There's no question about it. You can be the best team in the history of the program and get bounced in the first round, and everybody says, yeah, but they got bounced in the first round. They got upset. Should have never happened. They had a chance to win it that year, but they didn't. So even though it has been a successful season, A&M still needs to go out and win some games because they have the potential to get to the Sweet 16 and maybe even further, which would be the furthest that any team in program history has gone at A&M. Yes, it's been successful. Do I think that they need to win a couple of games here to solidify that? Absolutely.
If they win a couple of games, or does it take at least 3 wins in this tournament to be the most successful season in the modern era?
Absolutely. Yeah. I fully agree with that, in that you have some good teams that have since 2000 that have made the Sweet 16. I think Caruso's team that made the Sweet 16, had they gone and won the Elite Eight, you'd have to say that is the best team in Texas A&M history. Because they didn't make the Elite Eight, there's still an argument. You can say maybe not quite yet. That there's still an argument for them. If this team makes the Sweet 16, I think they've got a chance to be talked about as one of the best teams in program history. But if they don't, then they're not there. That's just my opinion. But I think postseason play says a lot about how good the team is.
100%. Regardless, as you said to start off this segment, Logan, successful season. But if we're talking about historically good in A&M basketball context, they've got to go somewhere that this program has not been. And Absolutely. If they can at least match that, they will be in that conversation of the elites.
Especially when you have Wade Taylor, who holds the scoring record for Texas A&M, holds a scoring record for the SEC tournament. I mean, players like that don't come along every 5 years. It just doesn't happen. Every 10 years, it doesn't happen. And to have a player like that to go along with the schedule that you had to play throughout SEC, to go along with a Sweet 16 appearance, maybe an Elite 8 berth, whatever that may be, those are the types of things that you look at. So they have the makeup to do it. They have the skins on the wall through conference play to do it. Now they have to do it in postseason to really solidify that conversation.
Logan, thank you, buddy. Take care. Hopefully we'll be talking more about basketball next week.
Absolutely. Bring us a win, Nuño. Let's have a good conversation next time.
I'm going to do my best. All right. That's my promise to you. I'm going to do my best to be a really good analyst tonight.
Dude, I don't doubt you are. I think you can do it.
I'm going to try. I'll try hard. Thank you, buddy. Talk to you soon.
See you, Dave.
All right, your car wash tradition with the friendliest staff and a personal touch is Aggie Land Express Car Wash. They got 2 great locations, the William B. Fitch one behind the Shipleys in South College Station, the newest location on Texas Avenue in College Station across from the Planet Fitness. They're Aggie Land's first green car wash. They recycle 100% of their water, and they have all the services you want: triple foam polish, clear coat protection, bug buster, hot wax, Rain-X, high-pressure wheel treatment, and Wheel Bright. They've got spot-free rinse and high-velocity drying. If you want to try it all, choose the Reveille wash with a 7-day clean car guarantee and a hand towel dry. Or check out the other package options that are on here. The Ring Day wash, the maroon and white wash, you name it. They've got memberships. You can keep your car looking good all the time. Monthly memberships as low as $19.95. And we're going to give one away right now. Why don't you call us up at 979-693-1150. We're going to give you a free car wash at 979-693-1150. We're talking about Aggie Land Express Car Wash. 2 great locations, the South Texas Avenue location and the South College Station location. It is Aggie Land Express. Luke Evangelist back with us here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Luke, I'm going to be real honest with you, all right, buddy?
Yeah.
I'm not going to make a joke. I'm being honest. I'm sick of talking about it. I'm ready just to see it, because we have analyzed this game from every angle that we can. At the end of the day, it's going to go back to the kind of the way I framed the question to Henry Coleman. If A&M plays their game well, they win games.
Yeah.
Plural, right? No matter who, not no matter who, but pretty close to no matter who.
Yep.
And I'm not asking for a masterpiece. Any team who has a masterpiece wins games. But if they do what they do, which is offensive rebound at a very high clip, hit 70+% of their free throws percentage, right? And don't have an exorbitant amount of turnovers, they win this game.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Comfortably. You're not wrong. That is the key to success right there, is who's going to play their game. Is Yale going to play clean and not turn the ball over and hit their threes? Or is A&M going to be the one that drags the game into that frantic, like we like to say, they like to muck it up and make the game dirty? If A&M turns the ball over 3 times today, I will be pleased. I'm not thinking that's going to happen. But if A&M is the only team with double-digit turnovers, that's a problem. But if A&M can get Yale to double-digit turnovers, short of A&M having more than 15 turnovers, I feel pretty confident that they're going to win this game. It's just a matter of, are they going to take care of the ball? And does playing a team like Yale maybe dull their senses and think that they can revert back to their bad habits? And that's not saying that A&M playing fast means they're automatically going to turn the ball over. They've had stretches where they've sped up their tempo, run in transition, and they don't turn the ball over. It's just a matter of, are they going to execute that?
And I think a storyline that maybe OB and I will investigate a little bit later is momentum, right? Because a team like Yale, if you give them momentum and those guys believe, then watch out, right? Like to me, it's about obviously creating your own momentum, but stopping any kind of momentum they have. If you have an 8-point lead and they hit a couple of threes, I can see their guys like getting into a certain zone, and you can't stop that. And then you feel like you've got to do that as well.
Yep. And then the crowd will be into it. That crowd is going to be over 85% rooting for Yale. And if you want to quantify momentum, Evan Mia quantifies it as kill shots, which are 10-0 runs. No team in the country goes on more 10-0 runs than Yale. They average more than 1 a game. And people are saying, oh, who'd they do it against? So it's the Ivy League. Well, in their 6 toughest games against like Purdue, Minnesota, Akron, UTEP, teams that either made the tournament as an automatic qualifier or an at-large, they had 11 kill shots in those 6 games. So they're averaging close to 2 10-0 runs per game against their 6 toughest opponents. And A&M will be one of their 7 toughest opponents this year. So ultimately, I believe the stat is 75% of the time the team with the first kill shot wins and the last kill shot wins. And then the team with the most kill shots wins like 85% of the time.
But A&M doesn't give up many kill shots, do they?
They don't. A&M and Yale are both top 4 in the tournament in kill shot margin. So A&M goes on 0.8 per game and only gives up 0.27, which I know it doesn't feel like that, but they only give up a kill shot once every 4 games. But the thing with A&M, when they are at their best, what you're describing as answering momentum is what we saw in the Auburn game. Auburn is notorious for going on long runs, and their longest run against A&M was 6-0.
Right.
So anytime Auburn answered with Tahad Pettiford hitting back-to-back threes, okay, Zurich Phelps is going to go get a bucket. All right, Chad Baker-Mazzara just hit a 3, and Janai Broome just dunked it. Auburn's got all the momentum. Wade Taylor's going to go hit a 3. So how can you answer that to make sure that 6-0 run doesn't turn into 9-0, 12-0, and then like we saw against LSU, 17-0?
When we come back on TexAgs Live, Pat Bradley of the SEC Network will join us. Was your car hit by the recent hailstorm? Don't trust an out-of-town pop-up tent with your car. Trust a locally owned and operated business. Classic Collision and Restoration specializes in paintless dent repair for your hail damage repair. Those out-of-town pop-up tents will be gone soon. Who will stand behind the work? If your paint starts to chip or trim starts to fall off, let Classic Collision and Restoration handle your insurance claim for your hail damage repair. Keep your business local. They've been around for 25 years. Countless customers have trusted Classic Collision and Restoration to bring back to their showroom form. For top quality auto repair, Classic Collision and Restoration is here to help. No one in the Brazos Valley offers the same quality of service and detail that Classic Collision provides. And you know how the saying goes, you get what you pay for. Don't just get your car fixed, get it restored with Classic Collision and Restoration. Aggie owned and operated by Doug Leopold, class of 1993. I keep getting the L's. The L's are killing me. Call Classic Collision Restoration today at 979-779-8399 or online at classiccollisionandrestoration.com. And we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We're joined by Pat Bradley of the SEC Network and ESPN. Pat, good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, good morning. How we doing?
Doing wonderful, man. So you got to see A&M up close and personal last week. Not their best performance against Texas. Actually, it was a really good game. It just Texas just made more plays down the stretch, and A&M had some unfortunate incidents. When you look at this A&M team, the way they played down the stretch, how much do you read into the last month of the season and what's going to happen here in this NCAA tournament?
You always like to think it's a sort of a reset or a recharge. When you start the postseason, obviously, the SEC tournament was a heck of a battle, and overtime. But I think that Texas A&M is. We know what they are. They're one of the teams in our league where you know exactly how they're going to play, you know what they're going to try to do, and that's how they win games. That's why I think so many people may have them going deep, because they don't have to play great. They don't have to shoot the ball great to beat you, because they're such good defensively and in offensive rebound, and that's every time that's where they're going to kill you.
That this Yale team does a lot of the things that worry A&M fans, because A&M is vulnerable against the three-point shot, right? Yale hits at a very high clip, almost 38%. They are very efficient offense. When you look at this Yale team, what makes them such a trendy pick for an upset?
Well, I think maybe some of it was last year's game when they beat Auburn, but you tend to get, that's the danger sometimes of playing some of the non-power schools, because they're probably going to be an older team, which older teams tend to make better decisions. Not always, but they tend to make better decisions. Means, yes, they do things like take care of the basketball. They'll do things like they're going to take good shots so they don't beat themselves. And I think that's what you get when you play that type of a team. And then, you throw in the Ivy League there, you figure they got to be somewhat intelligent guys, right? The Ivy Leaguers. And so it looks like, they're not going to want to make it a track meet. So those are the challenges when you're playing that caliber of a team.
How much does postseason success, in your eyes, determine what was a successful or an unsuccessful season? And I'm bringing up A&M in this example because Buzz Williams has done a phenomenal job with the program. There's no doubt about that. One postseason win, one NCAA tournament win since he's been here. But you look at what he's been able to build. How much of his time at A&M will be remembered because of what he does in this postseason run?
Well, I hope fans can take a look at the overall season and what coach has done, because it's crazy that fans, really, some of them anyway, get excited about a 2-week span, or, if you go to the Final Four, it's a 3-week span. But you've been watching the team since October, November, right? So that's 3-4 months of a team that you root for and that gives you joy. And A&M's had an excellent season. Think about all the, all the excitement going back to, whether it was first win, beat Ohio State, Creighton, all those. The tournament shouldn't diminish the excitement you have for the regular season, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I hope fans look at it that way. That's what I try to keep them in mind. Like, it's the tournament's fun, but it shouldn't be all about the tournament.
What did you think of last night? Xavier coming back at the end against Texas, and now down to 13 teams here in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Texas, I thought that they were going to catch a hot streak. They played really well in the SEC tournament. They really did, and so I was hoping they were going to be able to keep that going as well. But it's I'm sure we focus in on the SEC so much, we tend to forget the other teams around the country that are just maybe in the same position as Xavier and North Carolina obviously is a team that many people felt like shouldn't get in, but, I'm sure they look at their season differently.
Let's talk about Auburn for a moment. They did not look their best at the end of the season. You talked about the reset. Hopefully A&M gets a reset. Do you expect the reset from Auburn?
Yeah, I think going back to what Coach Pearl said after the loss in the SEC tournament, he mentioned how that they obviously played consistently through Janai Broome, and he did make a comment, say, hey, we're going to maybe try to do even more things offensively to become even a more dangerous offensive team. So I think they're fine. We've all seen the great depth that they have and the talent that they have. So I think they'll be fine.
An 8-9 matchup's always prime for a potential upset because they're so closely ranked. But when you look at this Gonzaga-Georgia game, you look at what Gonzaga's been able to do over the years, and Gonzaga really having a nice season. Can this be one of those upsets for you?
Well, I think Georgia wouldn't be a surprise to me at all. I mean, Georgia's been really good all season long, and they've got a really good backcourt, one of the better probably point guards in the country, Silas Demery. I mean, he's been playing fantastic from a defensive standpoint and an offensive standpoint. So I wouldn't, to me, they've got good enough size. They've got one of the best freshmen in the whole country in Ace and Newell, so that can match up really against just about any big you want him to. He's a really, even though he's a freshman, he can play physical. He's a great athlete. So probably Georgia's flying under the radar.
I'm really intrigued by this North Carolina-Ole Miss matchup for a couple of reasons. North Carolina, a lot of people thought they shouldn't have made the tournament, even though they came so close to beating Duke there in the ACC championship. But beyond that, or in the ACC semifinals, I should say. But beyond that, when you look at the way they played this past the other day against San Diego State, could this be another area where you could see an upset?
Well, again, I mean, it's North Carolina, so I'm sure Ole Miss is looking at it like this is the North Carolina team that they saw play the other night. They put on a heck of a performance. So I think Ole Miss is going to be dialed in, locked in, and certainly not going to be overlooking them.
Pat, how do you take in the tournament? You got multiple TVs on at home. You're at the SEC studios, and how do you kind of take it all in?
Yeah, well, I guess you get your phone, your TV, you get your laptop, you got iPad, right? So you just try to use as many things as you can, and hopefully, you get locked in on one or two games that are really, the ones that the exciting ones. Obviously today, I guess we start with an 8-9 game. So that one, hopefully that one's going to be a little exciting one to tip us off to the day.
Pat, great times, man. Thanks so much for joining us here on the program. Hope to talk to you again.
All right. Good luck, guys. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Pat Bradley, SEC Network on the Buppies Catering Hotline. All right. We're going to close out the program with some final thoughts basketball-wise. I'll pick Luke's brain again, and we'll just come up with some final thoughts before the game. OB and I are going to go and get some thoughts on TexAgs.com as well. Try to get into some of the topics we were not able to get into here on the show. So we'll have all that at TexAgs.com here in the afternoon before the game. Let's talk about our partners at Bird Dog. They're an Aggie-owned and operated company creating access to hunting opportunities. If you like to go hunting, if you've thought about hunting, if you're a really good hunter, if you're a terrible hunter, let the folks at Bird Dog help you out, right? They're an Airbnb for hunters and for landowners. What they're going to do is they're going to connect you guys for an awesome experience. They'll take care of all the logistics. Have your buddies, you want to do it for your 40th, your 50th, you want to do it for some kind of work event, whatever it may be. Let Bird Dog set it all up for you. They can handle everything. We're talking about add-ons from helicopter hunting to concerts, to a private chef. They will do it all. Jonathan Lusk and his team will take care of you. And if you're a landowner, you want some hunters on your land, they got that for you. Again, they're like an Airbnb for hunters. If you want to make some money on your land because there's some tax benefits you haven't thought about, they'll think about it for you. They've already thought about it, actually. They've got the answers for you. You should reach out to them so they can help you get the money on your land. Some of their clients are making $100 to extra $500 per acre of land, and you don't even have to run hunts on your land to get this done. All you need is to be farming or running cattle. They've got all the answers for you at Bird Dog. The website is birddogit.com. Again, that website, birddogit.com. Remember Bird Dog for all your full-service hunting experiences, and for your landowners, help them make money for your ranch. It's Bird Dog. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Nick, can you tell everybody hi, please? Let everybody see your face.
Hi. Yeah. No, I just jump scared y'all. But hello. Hello, everyone. I'm still here.
Hey, buddy. So I wanted to close this out because Luke and I were talking at the break. Bez Mbang. I was looking at some of his... Look, I know he's an elite defender, and I know he's really good, but he's going to affect this game in potentially a positive way, potentially in a negative way. And the reason I say that is we know if he they choose to have him lock up Wade. I'm not saying he's going to lock up Wade. Wade's an efficient
but
player.
I think we know they're going to match up on each other given the size. You can't have Wade on someone that's 6'6" on the defensive end. So
right,
I know what you're saying.
So so he locks up with Wade. Let's say he does well. That's where others are going to have to step up, right? And you're mentioning Manny or Zoo, right?
Yeah. Well, just to go back to that, I think is Wade not a great active hands defender? Can Wade not steal the ball from any guard in the country? So if Mbang is having troubles turning the ball over, which like you mentioned he does in their losses, I actually prefer Wade to be on him, and you can then take Zurich Phelps to be primed on Pulikidis or any of their other guards that they bring in. I think Solomon Washington will probably be between Townsend and Pulikidis. I would prefer for him to be on Pulikidis, but then you look at it and it's like, could Zurich guard a forward? I don't really like that matchup, but either way, they're both 6'6". But on the offensive end for A&M, whatever you can get from Wade, that's great. If he goes off for 30 or 28 like he did against Nebraska, A&M's probably going to win. But if you can't get production from him, I think the X factors are Zurich Phelps and Manny Obaski, because their speed and their athleticism should be enough to blow by Yale's guards. And if Ivy League offenses are putting up 80 and 90 points on Yale, A&M should have no problem getting to the hoop. But their problem could be if they're settling for threes, because I think we would both agree we trust Manny and Zurich more when they're in control, driving to the basket, seeking contact, and finishing at the rim, as opposed to if they've got 6'6" guys defending them, pulling up for a three from long range. Now, that's not saying I don't want either of them taking threes. Manny was 2 for 2 against Texas, but I think A&M needs to work inside out and establish that physicality inside to then open up things on the outside. But if they try and shoot a bunch of threes early in the game, that's not going to set up how they want to attack this Yale defense.
And Mbang, we mentioned his turnovers. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I know in at least 3 of their losses, he had 6 and 7 turnovers, right? So that's a lot for your guy who's going to handle the ball as much as possible. So, and I know Wade's had his games where he's had the turn, but my point is for A&M to win, the recipe can all be good, but you're going to have to force them into turnovers.
Yes,
and he's going to be the biggest target of that.
Yeah, you have to muck it up. You have to make this game dirty because Yale doesn't want to turn the ball over. And I know they only average about 10 a game, but in their losses, you can see trends of not making free throws for Yale, not holding onto the ball, and then not shooting the most efficient clip from 3, which in the game of basketball, is that not the same recipe for A&M? So it's just about who is going to execute their key points better. And for A&M, if they can force a bunch of Yale turnovers, because this is going to be the toughest on-ball pressure they've faced since probably the Purdue game, I think that is where A&M can expose them on the defensive end.
All right. On TexAgs.com today, we'll still have a lot more content for you before and after the game. Before the game, OB and I are going to do a little piece. What is it called?
Setting the scene.
Setting the scene. Yeah. I don't these names. So we're going to set the scene. All right. We're going to paint a pretty picture of everything behind us. And then tonight we'll have the post-game wrap with Luke Evangelist. That's going to do it for TexAgs Live here, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Why did I forget? Doesn't matter. We'll see you mañana.